Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and we are joined by Anam Paiseanta, and I've been wanting to talk to you about, we've met several times before. You're a voluntarist, anarcho-capitalist, and we can talk about all that stuff all day to exhaust, which we often do. We just did off camera. But I wanted to go into the real estate industry because right now we're seeing a massive level of manipulation in the housing markets across the board. We're seeing the return of mortgage-backed securities, collateralized debt obligations. We see that with BMO in Canada, Wells Fargo, and I feel like this is all adding up to something that's not going to end well for any of us. Do you see a major government-created, manipulated bubble on the way, ready to burst?
Well, historically, I mean, you could theorize all you want, and wherever government's involved, we try to be extra careful. But you can look historically and see that there is definitely a market cycle, and what your strategy, like for me as a real estate investor, what my strategy is for what part of the cycle that we're in changes.
What do you think the most dangerous side of the real estate market? I mean, it's hard to collectively branch it out because there's obviously localized real estate markets that far differ from other ones a few miles away. A great example is Vancouver, Canada. Terrible place to buy. However, just in rural areas outside of Vancouver, there's a lot of really good places to buy. What do you think is the most dangerous form of government manipulation in that market, though?
Clarify the question for me. In a market like Vancouver, you mean?
Yeah, in any market, what do you think is the most volatile thing that the government can do in manipulating the markets to bring down that said market?
Well, look at what happened in 2008. So leading up to that, the government was allowing loan originators to write bad loans because there was this government subsidized insurance, in America anyway, called Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, that would buy up bad loans if they happened to go to foreclosure. So because of that, the results were different than if the loan originators would have been responsible for their own mistakes. So in an unsubsidized, free economy, if there could ever be such a thing, that's what we pray for. Every bank would have their own guidelines with different levels of stringency for borrower qualifications, and then those who have the best policies would win, and those who have the worst policies would lose and eventually quit writing loans, and then the market would equalize out because only those responsible loan originators would be left in the field playing at that point. But what happens is we get this lowest common denominator factor where everybody gets to be shitty because the government will back them up if, it's like what we see over and over again. Government rewards bad ideas, and as we know as anarchists that bad ideas can only persist if they are being subsidized or defended somehow. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we've seen, for example, the collateralized debt obligations where they package together just an amazing amount of terrible mortgages and then put a few good ones in there, just sprinkle a few good ones in there and then rate it by the top 3 or 4 or whatever, so they got AAA ratings, and the next thing you know, you've created a massive debt bubble that's ready to burst at any time. And we saw that in 2007 with the housing crisis, and we're starting to see it again today. But of course there are places that are immune to this system because there are some places that are somewhat more free. The markets are somewhat more free. I mean, of course, there's always a property taxes, so no one ever owns a home completely.
Yeah, sinister.
Absolutely. It's taxation is theft. Say it again and again. Extortion, robbery, and there are some places though that are somewhat more free. What do you think is the worst place to buy, and what do you think is the best place to buy?
So there's so many different strategies. That where is the best place to buy? What is the worst place to buy? This changes so frequently, but what's more important is that not where, but when. So at the bottom of the market, say like here we are, we're in one of the most dynamic real estate markets in the world right now, Las Vegas, Nevada, and that's why I live here in the wintertime. So in this place, as an example, 2007 would have been like the worst time to buy and hold, but maybe one of the best times for a different strategy. And so at the bottom of the market, 2011, I think, that would have been a good time to buy, to hold, to fix up, put some renters in, hold long term. Those would be over double in value by now, those properties. So in 2008, it may have been smart to not buy and hold in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the signs were all there. especially for anybody who had been through the market cycle more than once and had that perspective of hindsight. But unfortunately, I was a newer investor at the time, and I learned my lesson in 2008 the hard way, the way a lot of Las Vegas investors did. But the strategy might have been at that time to invest in another market altogether. So geographically, there were other places that were not as dynamic. For example, where I live in the summertime, Wenatchee, Washington, the fluctuations there, for a lot of reasons, economically it's kind of insulated because they actually produce there. They grow so many different kinds of fruit that they sell to foreign markets, right? So what we saw in Detroit in 2007 didn't start happening in Wenatchee and in Washington State, and to a much lesser degree for maybe 3 years. So that's kind of an interesting thing. You can kind of hopscotch around to these different markets because some markets kind of have a lead time before major market corrections.
Yeah, that's what I mean kind of when I say, the hyper-localized housing markets, because then you go right up to Seattle and that's a different story. I mean, Seattle, I don't know why anyone would want to buy there unless they're trying to, risk everything and try and cash out big, because obviously it's inflating at a really fast pace. The population is growing at a faster pace than almost anywhere. Unemployment's terrible in Seattle, but also, I've heard this many times from people like Robert Kiyosaki, who says your house is not an asset. Do you agree with that statement?
Totally. Yeah. Totally. It's an expense.
Yeah. So why should people get involved in real estate? Because obviously it's something that a lot of people feel is too volatile to get into. They're a little worried about it. But in the end, there's a lot of money that can be made. There's a lot of, you can actually avoid a lot of taxation as well through the real estate market, which is something that is a great thing to do. Why should people get involved in real estate?
So anything any asset class that has a human necessity built in, obviously is going to have staying power. So people need houses. They always have and they always will. Some sort of shelter, right? This is like what makes it so much different than intangibles. That's one of the reasons that it's always going to have staying power. Now, if you look at any kind of performance of any kind of an investment, you're going to see this roller coaster of up and down, up and down. But as you draw a line through the highs and lows, through the center points of the market cycles, right, you'll see that like almost everything else, real estate has, on average, depending on what your location is, about a 6% gain. So if you're willing to buy and hold for the longer term, or do short in and outs, there's other techniques, some that I'm teaching anarchists right now. There's beginning techniques that you actually hold on to the property a very short amount of time. That's outside of the scope of this interview, but because there's different strategies and there's correct times for each strategy, there is no bad market for real estate if you know how to approach it. Absolutely.
Well, can you give our viewers just an insight into the work you do, how they can support you, how they can find you?
So my real estate work or my political work?
Altogether, I think people should check out more of your work, because I've been watching a lot of what you've been doing over the last several years, and I really think it's something that people need to be exposed to. So just plug yourself, plug what you do.
Sure, okay, I've got a few things to plug. Yeah, so Anam Paiseanta, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on my own website, it's down at the moment, but I'm the creator of Three Friends Free, the children's book about anarchy, and I'm also the creator of the Connector app. If anybody's a programmer or knows programmers, we need help. And also right now I have an apprenticeship program for anarchists who want to learn some real estate investing techniques so that they can become more time free and more financially free. And hopefully they'll be able to use those new assets of time and their increased finances to go out there and create something in the world that helps the rest of us get away from government, turn our backs on government so that we can have a peaceful revolution.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we need. We need more of that, and we need to be talking tough about these issues, because we are being extorted on a daily basis. We are being imprisoned, kidnapped, killed in a lot of cases, and I think it's about time that people start speaking a bit louder and branch these issues, the markets, together with what the government is currently doing, because obviously you can't have a truly prosperous market without getting rid of the government first. And the voluntary solutions far outweigh any of the government so-called solutions, which are in the end Hegelian and just create problem, reaction, solution, repeat. So I thank you for talking with us today, and I'm sure we'll be bumping into each other at many future events. We tend to frequent the anarchist crowds, and it's always good to see you, so thanks for talking with us. Like what we do here at WAM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, we can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored by YouTube. Also check our Bitcoin address in the description and the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also find me at Josh Sigurdson at steemit.com. That's steemit.com. The future of social media, where you get paid in cryptocurrency to blog and post. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.